Welcome to yet another edition of the Stats and Stacks podcast. For today, we're going over UFC Vegas 46, Chikadze versus Kattar. Man, it is great to be back. 3 weeks off is way too long without a UFC card. I was literally going through withdrawal. So we have nothing to review from last week, considering there was no event last week. Over again, make sure that you check over on Instagram, over on Twitter. Even we're a little bit of a TikTok following going right now. We post our official picks, and I've been posting them a little early now, a little earlier. But again, things are subject to change with the whole weight cutting and everything like that. The scales are important, so sometimes you do see some updates there. Otherwise, there's still NFL going on, so there are still NFL picks going as well. So if you're trying to make some money, it's not just UFC that is what we excel in, but there are NFL picks over there trying to make money there as well. But again, we're not going to waste any more of your time. This card initially was a pretty good card. It's one of those sneaky good cards where there are a lot of talent, a lot of good matchups, but like the mainstream wouldn't know who these people are. But if you're a diehard, you're pumped for the fights. Unfortunately, as of right now, there have been 11 canceled bouts. There's just who knows who's fighting who right now. It changes every single day. People are filling in on 48-hour notice. It's insane. Some of the odds we don't even have because the same people aren't fighting any longer. So I'm just happy. Honestly, at this point, if a card is going to fall apart like this, at least it's one where we're going through withdrawal. I'll watch anything right now, even Caitlin Chikadze and Jennifer Maia. Give me something to watch. So without further ado, there's not a lot of fights here, only 10 right now. There might be another one canceled, unfortunately, due to COVID. But just like they're soldiering on, we're going to soldier on and go ahead and try to find some places to make money. There are going to be some pretty shaky picks, or not picks, but shaky fights this week because there's so little to deal with. But hey, we're going to get through this. So let's start with the very first fight of the night. Talking about here, you see all of the canceled fights here. But talking about canceled fights and late notice replacements, we have Brian Kelleher going up against Kevin Croom. Kevin Croom filling in as of Wednesday. I believe Wednesday afternoon, he agreed to the bout after Syed Kamaramov, right? I'm sorry, I didn't say his name correctly, did have to back out. So we'll go ahead and we'll start with Brian Kelleher here. Not a lot of odds because it just came out literally hours ago. So we'll start with Brian Boone Kelleher. The dude is the definition of a gatekeeper. He has okay striking. I actually thought it was better than when I went back and I did the fight tape. It's not as good as I thought it was, but again, his nickname is Boom. He does have some power in those hands. His wrestling is okay. He can utilize it, but usually against lower level competition. Generally speaking, you would think that his jiu-jitsu game isn't bad. I know he loves guillotines and he has a solid guillotine. He has a lot of finishes by guillotine. But looking at it and looking at all of his losses here, it is a little questionable. Yes, he has a tight guillotine, but outside of that, he's getting Darce choked. He's getting arm barred. He's getting triangle choked. He's getting arm barred. Like he's been tapped arm bar. He's been tapped from card a plethora of times. Like you can catch this dude. So the ground game wasn't as good as I thought it was. He does have good cardio, which is nice. And again, like I said, I thought his striking was a little better. He is hittable. He gets hit more than he dishes out. So I actually was surprisingly down on Kelleher this week compared to what I thought. Now, when I say gatekeeper, this dude, that's just the thing. He's fighting Kevin Croom, who is a regional star darling, regional scene darling, but in the UFC, man, I don't know if he's ever going to be UFC caliber, in all honesty. He's an overall generalist. So you have a gatekeeper going up against a generalist here. His jiu-jitsu is okay. His striking's it leaves a little to be desired. It's all right. His ground game is all right. Just not a lot to, and I apologize. I do have my wife upstairs, and our dogs apparently are going crazy, so ignore that. Otherwise, yeah, he's. There's not really much to talk about this fight. We have two generalists going at it, so I mean, it is what it is. At the end of the day, um, Kevin Kroom does have one in the UFC. I don't care what they said. He was smoking before his debut. He beat the shit out of Roosevelt Roberts, and then they ruled it a no contest because he failed his drug test. It was just weed. He's fine. So in my eyes, he's 1-1. Alex Caceres is sneaky good, but he's also a gatekeeper. So if you have someone that may not be UFC caliber going up against a gatekeeper, and they just lost to a gatekeeper, I think the same thing's going to happen again. So I am going to take Brian Kelleher here. I don't know if it's going to round totals. This is a tricky fight. I can see Kelleher finishing him, but I don't feel confident enough to call that. So I'll just take Kelleher here, and pretty decisively, most likely. All right, then the next fight, we have another one where they just kind of came in last minute. We have Charles Rosa going up against TJ Brown. We'll go ahead and we'll start with TJ Brown. Dude's a great wrestler. He's very, very good. That's kind of his bread and butter. That's what he originally came into the UFC doing. His striking is ever improving. However, I do want to mention that this card has a ton of people from Glory MMA. I love James Krause. I think he's very good with people on the regional scene. He's very good with people that are kind of lower level here. And that's kind of what we're looking at in Kevin Kroom and what we're looking at in TJ Brown. But yeah, he has like 4 or 5 fighters all fighting on this card. But again, we'll go ahead and we'll start with TJ Brown. Great wrestler. Oh, getting better. The reason I brought up James Krause is because his striking is getting better under James Krause's tutelage. His cardio is okay. His jiu-jitsu, I think he's a brown belt. He's pretty solid. He's also kind of a generalist. I really don't want to bet him because his nickname is Downtown TJ Brown. Not a big fan. Not a big fan of the nickname. It makes me want to fade him. But that's just a testament to just his judgment. He has very, very low fight IQ. He fights the complete opposite game plan that he should to get a win. So he's not someone I generally want to trust with my money. Good news is he's fighting Charles Rosa, who is, again, taking this fight on short notice, like 48 to 72 hour notice. TJ Brown is someone that when you look at his losses, he gets finished in every single loss, whether it's submission, whether it's knockout. You can't finish this guy. Charles Rosa hasn't had a finish in the octagon since like 8 fights ago. Like, he does not get finishes. Literally 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He armbarred Manny Bermudez. And then he darce choke Soriano, which you always do. So literally, this dude has like 12 fights in the UFC, and he has 2 finishes. He's not a finisher by any means. He is not a power puncher. I don't know the last time he knocked someone out. I do, actually. Keith Richardson, regional scene back in 2014. So he hasn't knocked anyone out in 8 years. I don't see him doing it now. He is known as a jiu-jitsu guy. He does have a good ground game. The problem is he hasn't tapped anyone out outside of Manny Bermudez in 2019. That was old Bermudez. And he tapped out Soriano, who literally every single one of his losses are by submission. So he's not a finisher at the end of the day. He is not a finisher by any means. So if you have no power, you're not really threatening on your back. And he just lost to Derek Minner. Derek Minner is a training partner of TJ Brown. Derek Minner is someone that goes out and wrestles and controls you. Derek Minner goes out and wrestles and tries to tap you out. But when it came to Charles Rosa, he went out, took him down with ease, and controlled him. TJ Brown is from the same camp. He's a better wrestler, just as good on the ground. I see the same exact game plan. Why fix what isn't broken? The pick is going to be TJ Brown. The bet, I don't like TJ Brown at minus 285. So I actually like the over a lot. Neither one of these guys are finishers. Give me the over. Or if you want to put a prop on it and help that line, you can always go TJ Brown by decision. But the best bet is definitely that over 2.5. Or if fight goes to decision. All right, and then the next fight's a pretty tricky one. We have Court McGee going up against Ramiz Brahimaj. We have this one we actually have odds for. Court McGee minus 115, Ramiz Brahimaj minus 115. It is a straight pick 'em, ladies and gentlemen. Over under set at 2.5, over 2.5 minus 185, under 2.5 plus 150. Let's go ahead and start with Ramiz because we are talking about people with poor fight IQ. He's another one sitting there and has 9 wins here, right? Fortis MMA, pretty decent camp. He has 9 wins, 9 submissions. All he does is go out, take you down, tap you out. That's what he does every single one of his wins. His UFC debut against Max Griffin, he decided he was going to stand up and strike the entire time and shot 0 takedowns. I understand that he's working on his stand-up game. I understand that it's improving and he wants to show it off. This is not the time. If you can take someone down and you can tap them out, just go ahead and do it. I don't understand why you would go the entire, and especially in a fight you are losing, you have to know you're losing. I need you to go for the takedown. Not one takedown was shot, and that does concern me. It resonates to this day. All in all, I would say he's pretty hittable, but he really, that was the only fight. The Sasha fight, he took him down immediately and tapped him out immediately. I don't even think he got hit. So he does have a tendency to go forward. He has pretty good wrestling. It's not top notch, but it's decent. But his jiu-jitsu is phenomenal, man. This guy is he's a black belt and he is phenomenal on the ground. Problem being he's fighting Court McGee, who has never been tapped out. Initially, that did scare me. However, I'm looking at some of these fights and talking about people. I remember there's Jamie Pickett fighting the Beverly Hill Ninja, and he's never been knocked out. And then Jordan Wright knocked him out. You look at Souza, doesn't get tapped out. Great. And then Andrew Muniz goes out and taps him out. Like, you see this stuff all the time. When someone is that high level on the ground, anyone can get tapped out or finished at any time. Yes, Court McGee has never been tapped out, but hey, there's a time and place for everything. The dude's 37 years old. I mean, his striking hasn't gotten any better since 2010 when he debuted. He has pretty good cardio. That's how he used to win. He used to grind on you, used to get some takedowns and just keep that pace going, and that's how you win. He can be backed up, which isn't too good for the way that Ramiz likes to go forward. He is, again, very durable. He's only been knocked out one time, and that was by Santiago Ponzinibbio way back in the day, 2016. He is going to have a 2-inch reach advantage here. So if Ramiz wants to try out his striking again, he's going to be at a disadvantage of the reach. But it's not that Court's the greatest striker. So that concerns me that Ramiz is going to try to show how much better it's gotten, because if you're going to do that, you do that against slow-ass Court McGee. However, I think that Ramiz is going to have a little badge of honor, knowing I can either show off my striking or I can be the first man to ever tap out Court McGee. And I think he's going to go out there and try to prove a point. So the pick is going to be Ramiz. The bet, I'm one of the crazy ones that where that under I was looking at. However, plus 150 isn't enough juice for me. So I'm going to stay away from the over-under. The pick is going to be Ramiz. The bet would be Ramiz, but I'm probably not going to touch it. I'm not feeling the most confident in that one, in all honesty. All right, then the next fight of the night. I have Jamie Pickett, aforementioned Jamie Pickett, going up against Joseph Holmes. Pickett's a plus 130 dog, or sorry, not plus 130. It actually got bet down from when I was looking at it. He's a plus 105 dog right now. Joseph Holmes comeback was like minus 130 the last time I looked. Over under set at 1.5, which is odd. Over 1.5 minus 185, under 1.5 plus 150. Let's go ahead and start with Jamie Pickett. I bet Jamie Pickett his last fight. I bet Jamie Pickett against Lorano Staropoli. And I was very confident in the pick. He was a dog there around these same odds, and he came through and won. Here is the problem. That was a greasy win, man. It did not feel good. Jamie Pickett does not throw. Jamie Pickett is the definition of low volume. And every time he threw at Staropoli, he was winning the fight. But then he would just stop and take a picture and stare at him. Staropoli wanted no part of the striking, even though he was a striker, and was just literally pushing up against the fence. It was the world's weirdest fight. I don't like it. And that's how Jamie Pickett always fights. The man doesn't throw. I mean, even casuals right now talking about Tyron Woodley fighting Jake Paul, and Tyron never throws. That's how Jamie Pickett fights, and I can't stand it. I told myself I would never bet Jamie Pickett again. I know his wrestling's okay. It's not the greatest, but it's not the worst. It's just okay. I believe he is like a brown belt. He's a blue belt or a brown belt, something like that. He knows what's going on the ground. He's not a black belt by any means, but he's not going to be one you can just take down and tap out right away. His cardio's fine. It checks out, but again, that's because he's not throwing anything. It's kind of hard to gas out if you hardly throw any punches. When he does throw punches, he just blitzes with his chin straight up in the air. So if he runs into a potent power puncher, he's in a world of trouble. And he did with Jordan Wright. Took him out. He blitzed in with his chin up. Jordan Wright cracked it, and that was the end of that. He does like to counter too, but he tries to like set it up, and that's part of the reason he doesn't throw. He's just waiting to counter. So all in all, he's kind of durable, but like I told myself I would never bet Jamie Pickett again because he doesn't throw, and it's the most frustrating thing in the world to watch. The problem is he's fighting Joseph Holmes, and I'm going to be forced to bet Jamie Pickett again. Joseph Holmes, he looks the part, but god damn is this guy terrible. He's 7-1. He doesn't have a lot of experience. He's 26 years old, so I mean the experience is fine, but he's just his jiu-jitsu is decent, I guess. That's how he gets most of his wins. Like when you just look at his record, you're like, oh man, look at all of these submission wins. Rear naked choke, rear naked choke, rear naked choke. You're like, oh, he must be a good grappler, and then he just takes you out. That is not the case by any means. The guys he were fighting were bombs. Like 1-1, 6-8, 4-1. 0-1, 3-2, and then he fought on the Contender Series. He fought Shane Barnes at 6-1. Listen, there's a reason he didn't get a contract. If you fight a Contender Series and then you have to go fight again, there's a reason. And looking for a fight and Contender Series, like and then he fought at someone that was 6-5. It's just the dude's bad. He doesn't really have any striking. He throws like body kicks out there and head kicks. But there's zero power, zero intent in finishing the fight. He just throws it out there like a jab because he has a pretty decently long reach. I want to say he has like an 80-inch reach. Yeah, he has an 80-inch reach. Problem is Jamie Pickett has the same goddamn reach. So that's not going to work. He just throws it out there to paw at you. I know he used to fight at welterweight. So again, he's not even the biggest middleweight in the world. Yeah, they have the same reach, but Jamie Pickett's a lot thicker. His wrestling, you would think, is going to be good if he takes everyone down and gets all these rear naked chokes. But again, the level of competition is not good, and his takedowns don't look that good. They don't look good enough to take down Jamie Pickett. So what we have is a stand-up fight with someone that can't strike going up against someone that refuses to throw volume. It's going to drive me fucking crazy. This is probably going to be the worst fight of the night. I don't know why it's at 1.5. In all honesty, I don't know who they think is knocking out who. Neither one of them throw. Or throw to knock out. So the pick is going to be Pickett, unfortunately. And god damn, I might have to bet Jamie Pickett. I told myself I'd never do it again, but Joseph Holmes isn't that bad. He's very, very bad. So pick is Pickett, bet is Pickett, and honestly, over 1.5 is just free money. All right, then next fight of the night. Again, we're like halfway through this card already. We are looking at one of the actually entertaining ones here, but it might get canceled. We have Joe Anderson, Brito going up against Bill Algeo. Joanne is a -130 favorite. Come back on Bill Algeo +110. And I'm pretty sure I saw some line movement the last time I looked at it a few hours ago. It was like -115 to -105 for Bill in favor of Brito. So the line is coming in and getting closer, and a lot of money's coming in on Bill Algeo. And I'll tell you why. Dude has underrated striking. I thought it was pretty rough to start when I looked at his regional scene, but it's getting better and better in the UFC. In all honesty, it looks pretty good. His cardio is infinite. He's one of these Colby Covington, Brandon Royval, like just never get tired guys, Max Holloway, which is awesome. And he needs it because the dude cannot wrestle. I know he has like a wrestling background in high school, but he didn't pursue it in college or anything like that. And I have seen him get takedowns, but his takedown defense, god damn, it's bad. I think it's like 40%, 35%. It's something very, very, very low. Probably just as low as he keeps his hands. I do not like that either. He keeps his hands very low. He's very durable. I don't know if he's actually ever been knocked out. I don't believe he has. No, he's never been knocked out. I've seen him drop before, but he's never been knocked out. And I think that's why he has that confidence to keep his hands low. But that's just not a good quality to have. The amount of output he has is a good quality. It's very, very high. He lands like 6 or 7 significant strikes per minute. It's pretty ridiculous. But that takedown defense, man, if you want him down, you get him down. The good thing is he gets back up. Like, I think he's given up 20 takedowns in his 3 UFC fights. But that means he got up 20 times. Like, you can't hold him down. He just gets up. And he's one of these guys where it's Uriah Faber-esque. And people used to go crazy when people would take down Faber and he would give up his back to get up. But no one could rear naked choke him for some goddamn reason. No one really knows. The same exact thing. I'm looking at it here. Shane Burgos did. But outside of that, no one else has been able to get him in a rear naked choke. I mean, the dude is 14-6. He has 20 pro fights, and he's been rear naked choke once fighting that way. So, hey, to each their own. If it works for him, it works for him. It's not as if Brito is some sort of jiu-jitsu ace. I know he's okay at jiu-jitsu, but predominantly he wins off of just sheer strength and brutality. The dude is a killer. For somehow they say this dude is 26. I'm going to have to see a birth certificate because I'm not believing that by any means. And this says it all. If you want to know how he fights, he trains at shoot to box. Enough said. The Vanderlei Silvas, the Chris Cyborgs of the world, chin up, strike hard, no technique, just killer berserker attitude. That's how he fights. And I mean, look, not finish in 40 seconds, finish in 40 seconds, rear naked choke. Okay. Finish by punches in a minute, rear naked choke in a minute, punch in a minute. Like, this dude does not fight long. He is not there for a long time. He's there for a good time. And this dude comes in to kill. Constant pressure. Has to move forward. Algeo can get backed up a little, so that is another concern. However, this dude's just crazy, man. He's a bull. And that does result in his cardio failing him a little bit. I wouldn't say he gasses per se, but he does have a tendency to slow pretty badly. And I mean, justifiably so, the way he fights. This is also his debut in the UFC. So not only does he only know how to go like a berserker, if he has any sort of like UFC jitters and that gas tank just kind of washes, like we've seen, like Sean Brady did that, where his cardio is usually good and it just, his first fight, he just has so much jitters it fell apart. Tyler Santos did that. She gassed out because just so much UFC jitters. You see that a ton. So if he has any of that, Bill Algeo again pushes a pace. So either Brito goes out there and he's the first man to just dismantle Bill Algeo, because everything Bill Algeo does wrong is what Brito likes to do. However, if he can't get the finish, Algeo is going to pick him apart from round 2 on. So this is a trick that makes it a tricky one to bet, because when you're looking at rounds, you're basically picking a winner. And I think it's 50-50 on what happens, a Brito early finish or an Algeo late decision. I liked it better when it was plus money. I bet it with Algeo as plus money, so I'm going to stick with him as the pick. The bet, I guess, would have to be Algeo, but I like it a lot better at plus 110 where I bet it than minus 105. So the pick is going to be Bill. The bet, gun to my head, was still going to be Bill, even though you're not getting as much value on it. All right. And then the next fight of the night, we have Dakota Harry Bush going up against, oh God, help me saying this name, Vyacheslav Borishev. I believe he calls him like Santa Claus or something crazy like that. Okay, so you have Harry Bush at plus 155, Borishev at minus 180, over under set at 2.5. Over 2.5 plus 120, under 2.5 minus 150. Kind of tricky. It's a tricky fight here. We'll start with Dakota Bush. He's someone that I think has a lot of promise. I actually think Dakota Bush is pretty good. He's also kind of a generalist. He has okay striking. He has okay wrestling, okay subs, good cardio. You can back him up, which isn't good going up against Borishev. However, he does have a 4-inch reach advantage in this fight. He likes to counter a lot, and Borishev will throw at you. He's pretty durable. I don't know if he's been finished. His losses, he's never been finished. So he has that going for him. But things can change in all honesty. He has had the greatest schedule. It's been okay. And yes, he lost to Austin Hubbard, but he took that fight on extremely short notice. So just it's a little bit of an asterisk next to it. But I actually think he's going to be very good. He's still kind of young to where he can improve. And I can see this guy making an impact in years to come. Problem being right now, I just don't know if this is the right matchup for him because of his striking. Borishev is the striking coach at oh my god, why is it escaping me? Where Uriah Faber and Cody Garbrandt are. Oh my god. Well, let me just freaking look at it. How about that? He's out in California. He is the striking coach. And that's all he can really do. He's kind of one-dimensional in all honesty. Team Alpha Male. God damn, I don't know why that was escaping me. He's very, very one-dimensional. He's a striker. He's a great striker. Has a ton of power. Not a good wrestler. Gets taken down a plethora of times. He also has a very good get-up game, though. So just like Algio, he can kind of wear on you from taking him down and get back up. Ground game, not the greatest. Doesn't need it. He just wants to get back up to his feet. And you look at his wins, and it's knockout. You're looking at a decision, loss, a split, and knockout, a knockout, a knockout. Dude's a very, very good striker. He's not exactly a prospect per se. He's like 30 years old. So if he's going to do the damn thing, he's going to do it now. He's a grown-ass man. But at the end of the day, you're looking at, is Dakota Bush going to be able to hold him down if he gets him down? I can't say I'm confident he does. And if this fight stays on the ground, it stays on the feet, Borishev is going to piece him up. Will he put him away? I don't know. He's never been put away before. So that's another one where it's a little tricky when you're looking at the over-under. Over 2.5 being plus money, I don't hate, just because Dakota's never been finished. Austin Hubbard did drop him, and that concerns me because Austin Hubbard's not exactly a potent power puncher. If I had to bet here, I like Dakota. I want to bet Dakota. I want to fade Borishev, but I just don't think this is the time to do it. So the pick is going to be Borishev. I definitely see a route for Dakota, but I'll go ahead with Vegas and go Borishev. And the bet, I might take the over at plus money. Just survive, Dakota. You have a 4-inch reach. Just survive, baby. All right. Then we are, I believe, moving on to the main card. Very first main card fight for some godforsaken reason, this being on the main card. Actually, some of the order has been changed around a little. We'll just go off of the Tapology order right now. That's going to put us at Caitlin Chikadze going up against Jennifer Maia. We can kind of fly through this one. Chikadze minus 170, Maia plus 150, over under set at 2.5, over 2.5 minus 385, under 2.5 plus 270. We saw this fight just like 2 years ago. It has not been a long time. Caitlin Chikadze does what she always does. She Chikadze and she keyed her way to a W. Caitlin Chikadze, great striker. Caitlin Chikadze adding to her wrestling. It is getting better. We saw it displayed in the Antonina Shevchenko fight. I know everyone can take down Shevchenko, but she did it, and we were not expecting it. When you look at her losses, she's 14-2. Her losses are to. I'm sorry, I'm still on. I clicked the wrong name here. Giga is 14-2. Caitlin Chikadze, on the other hand, honestly, she might be 14-2 as well. I know she lost to Jessica Andrade. I know that she lost to Valentina Shevchenko. She's 16-4. Who are her other two losses? I know she's only losing to people that are fighting for titles and/or are the champions or goats. So not a lot of bad losses. Liz Camouche, former title challenger, and again, that was at 135. and Jessica split decision, former title challenger. I mean, she beat Joanne Wood. She beat Jennifer Maya, who she's fighting now. I mean, win against Cynthia Calvillo looks good. Vivian Arugio looks good. She's done everything she was supposed to. Everyone they put in front of her, she fights. She fights all these young people that they're trying to build up, and she keeps Keong her ways to victory. Takedown defense is getting better. It was very bad to start, but it is getting better. She has zero power. So bet the over here. It's a matter of Maya's going to want to take this fight to the ground. Chikagian's going to want this standing. And unfortunately for Maya, she has not. She's secured 2 takedowns in her entire UFC career. She is not a wrestler. She has a great jiu-jitsu pedigree. She is okay striking, and she's kind of slow. She hits kind of hard, but it's women's. It's women's flyweight. She's not really her. Yeah, it's women's flyweight. She's not really knocking anyone out per se. Usually at this weight class. So, I mean, I'm looking at her wins here. She armbarred JoJo. I don't know why JoJo took her down. Just nothing spectacular. A lot of decisions. And the same thing with Caitlin Chikadze, and no finishes in the UFC. And when it comes to Jennifer, she's had 1 finish in the UFC, and that's from JoJo, a depleted JoJo making stupid decisions. So this is definitely going to hit the over. That's why it's steamed to minus 385. But that is also free money. I guess you could just max bet that and watch it go. Otherwise, again, she's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt that doesn't wrestle. She's hittable on the feet. She gets hit more than she dishes out. So unless she can go forward and hit some power strikes, which he's not going to be able to do against Caitlin Chikadze, no reason to keep talking about this fight. Bet's going to be Chikadze minus 170. It's going to be a little greasier than it shows at minus 170, but I don't really see how she loses this fight. So pick is Caitlin. Bet's going to be Caitlin. All right, and then the next fight of the night, we are looking at the people's main event. We are looking at Brandon Royval, minus 160, going up against Rogerio Bontorin at plus 140. Over under set at 2.5. Over 2.5 plus 135. Under 2.5 minus 165. This is a men's flyweight fight, and the under is steamed. That's telling you something. Expect violence, baby. Let's start with Raw Dog, the flyweight GOAT, Brandon Raw Dog Royval. This dude is the man. If you cannot tell, I am extremely biased. This is literally one of my favorite fighters who are current. My favorite fighter is always going to be Anthony Pettis. Dude has got to retire soon. I love Dom Cruz. Dude has got to retire soon. And I said, someone needs to carry that torch. Who can be just sheer pandemonium like those two that I can just jump on board? And Brandon Royval came into my life. The dude smoked Tim Elliott, got absolutely just taken down at will for the first 2 rounds, and then came back and just absolutely destroyed him at the end of round 2. Dude has good striking. It's improving. At first, it's a little herky jerky, but it is getting there. It's very, very unpredictable. Dude's throwing spinning back elbows, spinning back fists, spinning kicks. Dude's throwing flying knees. He's all over the place. He can't be controlled. And when it comes to his ground game, it's very good. He does not stop moving. He does not stop fishing for submission. His legs are just flying up, flying around, looking for anything. And he can afford to do so because he has nonstop cardio. The thing I don't like is that he also does the Uriah Faber give up his back ordeal. And when you look at his losses in the UFC, Brandon Moreno, I know his shoulder popped out. However, he gave up his back, and that's kind of where it popped out. Alexander Pantoja, dude was putting it on Pantoja at the end of the first, start of the second. Got taken down because he does have pretty bad takedown defense. Gave up his back and got a rear naked choke put on him. Dude gives up his back usually is fine, but it's 2 UFC fights. That's where it ended. So Bontorin is a jiu-jitsu black belt, so I'm not going to like him just giving up his back like that. You can take down Royval. He does have bad takedown defense, and you can control him on the ground for a little. However, that's what Casey Kenny did. However, Bontorin definitely going to take the fight down to the ground, definitely going to try to get the ground game going, but if he can't finish him, he's in some serious trouble because he has no cardio, and Brandon Royval has the best cardio at the weight class. Bontarine is someone I love to bet. I think he's extremely disrespected, extremely underrated. Striking is okay. It's not the greatest. It is kind of a low volume, especially for flyweight. He is hittable. He gets hit more than he dishes out. He does slow a ton. Like I said, he gasses. And you can kind of back him up a little. He just wants to counter with hooks. That's all he does is counter with hooks. That's his only striking. Coming into the fight, I thought, well, he might have a little bit of a striking advantage. All Royval really has is cardio. But Bontarine, I was concerned to how much Royval gets hit. Bontarine gets hit more. I was concerned about like a lot of stuff with Brandon Royval, and Bontarine's actually a little worse at everything. So that being said, I think Bontarine is going to beat a ton of people in this weight class, but Brandon Royval is not one of them. He can hold his own on the ground. He's a little better on the feet, and as soon as it hits round two, Bontarine's going to be gasping for air, and Royval is going to fucking go crazy. I know Royval said that he's trying to control himself a little this fight, controlled chaos, but you can't. He's not going to be able to help himself. He's going to get hit once, and then he's going to go fucking crazy again. So the pick is going to be Royval. The bet is going to be Royval, and I cannot wait to watch this fight. All right. Then we're already at the co-main event. I don't think this is the official co-main event. Who knows, again, with this card being jumbled around so much. But we have Chase Sherman going up against Jake Collier. Jake Collier is a minus 130 favorite. Chase Sherman plus 110. Over under set at 2.5. Over 2.5 minus 170. Under 2.5 plus 140. And we're about to get paid, baby. I love Chase Sherman in this fight. I think Chase Sherman is probably top 5 worst heavyweights in the division. I think he's god awful. He is one of the worst gas tanks I've ever seen. He's completely one-dimensional, not the greatest wrestling, nothing in semblance of a jiu-jitsu game, a former bare knuckle boxer. The dude is god awful. But the one thing he does pack is power, and he doesn't pack it long. He only has about 3 hours of power, but dude is 6'4", 78 inch reach. The dude is a big boy, right? Jacob Collier is not. So I'm looking at Chase Sherman, and I'm looking at his wins. Ike Villanueva was a finish. I'm looking at Jeremy May. That was a finish. I'm looking at Frank Tate. That was a finish. All of these in the first round or second round. Rashad Cutler, a finish. He somehow got a decision win. Don't know how that happened. But yeah, if he's going to get a win, it's going to be by knockout. Literally the only way he gets them. He throws heavy leg kicks. And yeah, the dude just comes out here and he's either going to knock you out in the first round, early second, or he's going to gas and be a complete can. So this is how this is instant money. Jake Collier is a former middleweight. The dude is not a heavyweight by any means. He's just moonlighting at heavyweight. I mean, look at his picture here. And when he steps on the scale this weekend, he's going to be 265. The dude's not a heavyweight. Did not have a ton of power at middleweight. It definitely does not have any power at heavyweight whatsoever. Due to his okay cardio, he slows a ton. But sorry, not good cardio. He has good output. He strikes a ton. It's very high volume for heavyweight. But he does slow considerably. He doesn't gas as bad as Sherman, but he does slow a ton. If there's a step above gas, that's where he hits. But again, zero power, but his chin is my concern. He has been knocked out at middleweight multiple times. He's been knocked out at heavyweight. And if anyone has any sort of a semblance of power, you can put him out. Yes, he has 3 fights in the UFC at heavyweight, just in general. And looking at it here, Tom Aspinall caught him clean once, and that's all it took, and he went out, took 40 seconds. Jean Vellante is also a former light heavyweight that probably should have been at middleweight, has zero power at heavyweight. Carlos Felipe, someone that should be fighting at light heavyweight or possibly middleweight, has zero power. He was able to survive decisions against those two, but he fought one real heavyweight and he got knocked out in 40 seconds. Chase Sherman is god awful, but he has 3 minutes to catch him once. And if he does, Jake Collier is going out because he is not a heavyweight. So this is free money. You do not bet this fight. You live bet this fight. So what you do is you bet Chase Sherman now as a dog. and you bet him by knockout, because that's the only way he's winning. You bet him plus money by knockout. It's like plus 130 right now. Then if he does not get that knockout and those lines flip, you bet Jake Collier. You live bet Jake. If that thing hits round 2, you live bet Jake, because then he's going to be a big plus money dog, and you guarantee yourself money. This is the easiest money train I've ever seen in my life. If you want to get greedy, you can probably bet Jake by decision, because Chase is pretty hard to finish, but I wouldn't get greedy. I would just bet Chase now. If that thing makes it out the first round, you automatically bet Jake. I guarantee you money. Over under, I'm staying the hell away from, because it depends on who wins. So the pick is going to be Chase. The bet would be Chase right now. But if that thing hits round 2, you bet Jake, and that's an instant win. And then we're looking at our main event. Again, make sure you follow over on Twitter, over on Instagram, over on TikTok. Make sure you give this video a like, smash that button on YouTube, and make sure you check everything and see post weigh-ins, which way we're leaning. But again, we're going into the main event here. Probably one of the only real fights on the card outside of the Royval fight to go in the Algeo fight. We are looking at Calvin Kattar plus 190, Giga Chikadze minus 235, over under set at 2.5. Over 2.5 minus 170, under 2.5 plus 140. Let's go ahead and we'll start with Calvin Kattar. Dude is some of the cleanest boxing in the featherweight division. Dude is a phenomenal boxer. Very, very good striking. He has good cardio, holds up. You see him against like Dan Ige. You see him going up against, was it Shane Burgos? Going up against Max Holloway. Yeah, Max Holloway set records, but he kept throwing, man. Zabit came back and almost beat Zabit. Dude's a phenomenal striker. Great cardio. He's pretty durable. I don't know if he's ever been finished. If Max Holloway didn't finish him with the beating he gave him, I don't think anyone's going to. He's been choked out before, but that's it. High volume. I mean, overall, he is hittable. That part's a little concerning, and yeah, the numbers are very inflated right now after the Max fight. However, they weren't great before the Max fight. Dude gets hit a lot. He needs to work on that. But otherwise, he's a great fighter. He's a top 5, top 10 guy. I'd say a top 10 guy. I don't think Giga is, but styles make fights, and Calvin Kattar does not wrestle. Calvin Kattar does not have a ground game. Giga Chikadze does not wrestle. Giga Chikadze does not have a ground game, so it's a matter of who the better striker is. And one guy is a very, very clean boxer. Another one is a world-class kickboxer. So we are looking at Giga here, who does have a tendency to slow down in fights. This is his first 5-round fight, so it is very, very concerning. I don't know how he's going to look if this thing makes it out of round 3. Again, his jiu-jitsu is god-awful. You look at his losses by submission. Austin Springer tapped him out. That's very concerning because Austin Springer is not good. He has a decision loss on here. His very, very first fight. Otherwise, those are his 2 losses. He has a 2-inch reach advantage. So not only does he have a kicking game that Kattar does not, he also utilizes it and will have a reach advantage there. His power's okay. I know he has that world-class Giga kick where he kind of hits your ribs and shuts everything down. Really, it comes down to his cardio here because he is the better striker. He does have a reach advantage. He does use more tools here. Everything screams an easy Giga win. The over under 2.5, I guess I would take the over, but he's on a little bit of a finishing streak right now. It's not easy to finish Edson Barbosa. It's not easy to finish Cub Swanson. Jamie Simmons, another story. But yeah, man, I like Giga. I used to hate him. I used to think he was overrated. I really thought he was someone I wanted to fade. Do I think in the right matchup he's going to win every fight? No. The moment if he were to fight like Volkanovski would eat he would eat him for lunch. He would take him down and kill him. Even Ortega, he's not a wrestler, but if that thing sniffed the ground, Ortega would tap him out so quickly. So he has to fight someone without a ground game. I think Yair would be a tough fight for him. Pretty much that top 5. Korean Zombie is a tough fight for him. He has a lot of tough fights, but if you give him the right matchups, he has a chance. You give him like Max, who only strikes, he has a chance. The volume is probably going to wear on him because he gets tired, but at least he has a chance. You give him Calvin Kattar, who only wants to strike, I think he's the better striker. So this instance, I'm going to pick Giga. The bet, I would just bet Giga. I know it's minus 235. If you want to bet, I would definitely lean the over instead of the under here. Minus 170 is not bad odds. So if you want to just go Giga straight up, that's fine. But I think the over 2.5 is a little safer. So the pick is going to be Giga. The bet's going to be the over 2.5. And that's it. We're back, baby. This is UFC Vegas 46. I can't believe we've done 46 of these things. It's not the greatest fight offering, but it's something. We went through withdrawal. We have a pay-per-view next week. If you're going to give me a shitty card, give it to me now. So let's try to make the best of it. There's only 10 fights on there. If you're going to do a long parlay, you're going to have to bet every single one. Hey, it is what it is. Let's do what we can to get paid, baby.